Avatar, James Cameron's 2009 blockbuster about blue aliens on Pandora. The film earned over $2,700,000,000 worldwide, becoming the highest-grossing movie ever made, yet audiences and critics have increasingly questioned whether it deserved that success. Jake Sully, a paralyzed Marine played by Sam Worthington, gets recruited to pilot an avatar body that looks like the native Na'vi species. He's sent to infiltrate their society so the human corporation can mine a valuable mineral called unobtanium, a name so lazy it became a meme. Jake falls in love with Neytiri, switches sides, and leads the Na'vi in a battle against the humans who want to destroy their home. The plot is Dances with Wolves, transplanted to space, beat for beat. White savior joins indigenous culture, learns their ways better than they know themselves, becomes their prophesied leader, and defeats his own people. Critics pointed out the derivative story immediately, but Cameron dismissed concerns, saying all stories are recycled. The visuals were groundbreaking in 2009, utilizing motion capture technology and three-dimensional cinematography that forced every studio to retrofit theaters. But strip away the spectacle, and you're left with paper-thin characters speaking dialogue like, "I see you," that sounds profound but means nothing. The film cost between $230 and $300 million to produce, and its success came entirely from technical achievement rather than narrative substance. More than a decade later, the effects still impress, but the story feels even more hollow. Avatar proved you could earn billions by creating a beautiful world without bothering to populate it with interesting characters or original ideas. Independence Day, Roland Emmerich's 1996 alien invasion epic that defined summer blockbusters. Will Smith plays Captain Stephen Hiller, a Marine pilot who punches an alien in the face after shooting down its spacecraft, a moment that epitomizes the film's approach to logic. Jeff Goldblum plays David Levinson, a cable technician who discovers the aliens are using Earth's satellites to coordinate their attack. The film's most notorious plot hole involves Levinson uploading a computer virus to the alien mothership using a MacBook, somehow interfacing with extraterrestrial technology, despite the aliens traveling across galaxies with presumably incompatible operating systems. The script never explains how human software could affect alien hardware. It just happens because the plot requires it. Bill Pullman plays President Thomas Whitmore, who delivers a rousing speech about July 4th becoming humanity's Independence Day from alien tyranny, hence the title. The speech is jingoistic propaganda that frames American military might as Earth's salvation, ignoring that the entire planet faces extinction. Randy Quaid plays a crop duster and supposed alien abductee who sacrifices himself by flying his plane into the alien weapon, accomplishing what nuclear missiles couldn't. The film earned over $817 million worldwide against a $75 million budget, making it one of '96's biggest hits. But the success came from spectacle. Watching the White House explode and cities destroyed by massive laser beams, not from coherent storytelling. The characters are one-dimensional archetypes delivering terrible dialogue. The aliens have no motivation beyond generic conquest. The film treats war as entertainment and American exceptionalism as fact. Independence Day works as dumb fun if you shut off your brain, but calling it anything more than loud, empty spectacle is generous. Interstellar, Christopher Nolan's 2014 space epic about saving humanity through love and dimensions. Matthew McConaughey plays Cooper, a former NASA pilot turned farmer in a near future where crops are failing and Earth is dying from blight. He gets recruited for a secret mission through a wormhole near Saturn to find habitable planets in another galaxy. Anne Hathaway plays Dr. B's Amelia Brand, whose father designed the mission and who spends much of the film explaining complex physics to the audience. The movie runs 2 hours and 49 minutes, and Nolan packs it with exposition about relativity, time dilation, and gravity, often stopping the narrative dead so characters can lecture each other. Hans Zimmer's score overwhelms dialogue in key scenes, making already confusing explanations incomprehensible. The film's emotional core is Cooper's relationship with his daughter Murph, played by Jessica Chastain as an adult, but Nolan keeps interrupting their story with scientific concepts he doesn't trust audiences to understand without explanation. Third act reveals that future humans built the wormhole and created a tesseract inside a black hole where Cooper can communicate across time with young Murph through gravitational manipulation. The film literally argues that love is a quantifiable force that transcends dimensions, with Brand delivering a speech about how love guided Cooper to the right moment in the right timeline. Critics divided sharply over whether this represented profound emotion or embarrassing sentimentality disguised as physics. The Tesseract sequence looks stunning, but makes little narrative sense, requiring Cooper to accidentally stumble into the exact moment he needs, despite infinite possible coordinates across time and space. Nolan shot practical effects whenever possible, including building a real cornfield and using miniatures for the spacecraft. But the grounded visuals can't overcome the increasingly absurd plot. Interstellar earned over $677 million worldwide and received praise from scientists for its depiction of black holes, but the film sacrifices coherent storytelling for pseudo-intellectual posturing about dimensions and destiny. The Matrix sequels, The Matrix Reloaded and The Matrix Revolutions, from 2003, attempted to expand the Wachowskis' groundbreaking original into a trilogy. The first film worked because it had a simple premise executed with revolutionary visual effects and tight plotting. Neo, played by Keanu Reeves, discovers reality is a computer simulation controlled by machines, learns he's the prophesied one who can manipulate the Matrix's code, and begins humanity's fight for freedom. The sequels abandon clarity for convoluted philosophy and incomprehensible mythology. Reloaded introduces the Architect, an AI program who explains in endless monotone that Neo is the sixth one, part of a cycle the machines intentionally create to control human rebellion. The dialogue is deliberately obtuse, filled with terms like systemic anomaly and contingent affirmation that sound intellectual but obscure rather than illuminate. The film includes a rave scene in Zion, where thousands of sweaty humans dance and grind for minutes of screen time, adding nothing to the plot except padding. The action sequences, while technically impressive, rely heavily on CGI that looked dated even in 2003. The freeway chase remains exciting, but the burly brawl where Neo fights hundreds of Agent Smiths becomes a video game cutscene. Digital Neo clearly visible as a cartoon fighting weightless digital opponents. Revolutions concludes the trilogy with a massive battle for Zion that copies Aliens, and a final confrontation between Neo and Smith that ends with Neo allowing himself to be absorbed, somehow defeating Smith through sacrifice. The film never adequately explains. The Oracle, Seraph, the Merovingian, and dozens of other programs populate the sequels with philosophical debates that go nowhere. Monica Bellucci appears as Persephone, a program who wants to feel emotion, kisses Neo for no reason, and then mostly fades into the background, briefly reappearing in the Matrix Revolutions Club Hell sequence. The Wachowskis wanted to explore free will, choice, and purpose. They buried those themes under so much pretentious dialogue and excessive CGI that both sequels feel like expensive film school projects rather than worthy successors to a revolutionary original. Just a quick mention, if you're liking this kind of content, I make videos like this constantly. Subscribing would really help out. Valerian, Luc Besson's 2017 adaptation of French comic Valerian and Laureline became one of the most expensive independent films ever made. The budget reached between $177 and $200 million, funded entirely outside the Hollywood studio system through international pre-sales and Besson's own production company. Dane DeHaan and Cara Delevingne play Valerian and Laureline, special operatives in the 28th century protecting the universe from threats. Film opens with David Bowie's Space Oddity playing over a montage showing Alpha, a massive space station grown over centuries, as different alien species dock their ships and share technology. This sequence is visually stunning, showing Besson's imagination and the film's incredible production design. Then, DeHaan and Delevingne start talking, and the film collapses. DeHaan plays Valerian as a smirking playboy who constantly hits on Laureline despite her clear disinterest. He has zero charisma and looks like a teenager playing dress-up in his father's futuristic armor. Delevingne, a model making her major film debut, delivers every line with identical flat effect, unable to convey emotion beyond mild annoyance. The two actors have no chemistry whatsoever, making their supposed romance completely unbelievable. The plot involves a conspiracy to hide the genocide of a peaceful alien species whose planet was destroyed by human weapons testing. Rihanna appears for one extended sequence as Bubble, a shape-shifting performer who helps the heroes infiltrate a base, delivers an emotional monologue about her difficult life, then immediately dies. Her death is meant to be tragic, but lands with no impact because we've known the character for 10 minutes. Ethan Hawke cameos as Bubble's pimp in a performance so bizarre it seems imported from a different film. Besson adapted comics he loved as a teenager, but his screenplay feels like a 13-year-old's idea of cool dialogue and adult relationships. The visuals are extraordinary, every frame packed with alien creatures, futuristic technology, and imaginative environments that probably looked amazing in the original comics, but Valerian proves that spectacle without substance, chemistry, or competent lead performances creates a beautiful disaster. The film earned only $225 million worldwide, losing investors an estimated tens of millions, and effectively ending Besson's ability to secure financing for large-scale science fiction. Elysium, Neil Blomkamp's 2013 follow-up to District 9 about class inequality in the year 2154. Earth has become an overpopulated slum where the poor suffer pollution, poverty, and disease. The wealthy live on Elysium, a pristine space station orbiting Earth with perfect weather, manicured lawns, and medical pods that instantly cure any illness or injury. Matt Damon plays Max DaCosta, factory worker who gets exposed to lethal radiation and has 5 days to reach Elysium's medical technology or die. Jodie Foster plays Delacour, Elysium's defense secretary who shoots down shuttles carrying desperate Earth refugees trying to access healthcare. The allegory is about as subtle as a hammer to the face. Rich people don't want to share their resources with the poor. Healthcare should be a universal right. Immigration enforcement is cruel. These are valid points, but Blomkamp delivers them with zero nuance, making every wealthy character a mustache-twirling villain and every poor character a noble victim. The film cost between $115 and $120 million, but feels cheap despite the budget. The action sequences lack the gritty realism that made District 9 visceral and immediate. Charlton Copley plays Kruger, a psychotic mercenary working for Delacour, but his character is pure one-note crazy without the complexity Copley brought to District 9's protagonist. The plot revolves around Max stealing data from a wealthy businessman that can reboot Elysium's computer system and grant citizenship to everyone on Earth. The screenplay never explains why this is possible, how one program can override an entire government, or why Elysium's defenses couldn't stop it. Max sacrifices himself to upload the program. Elysium's medical ships descend to Earth, and the film ends with the implication that universal healthcare has been achieved through computer hacking. Elysium earned over $286 million worldwide, making it a financial success, but critics and audiences recognized it as a massive step down from Blomkamp's debut. The director had something to say about inequality, but he said it in the most obvious, preachy way possible, creating a film that feels like a very expensive public service announcement rather than compelling science fiction. Lucy, Luc Besson's 2014 film, built on the myth that humans only use 10% of their brain. Scarlett Johansson plays Lucy, a woman forced to smuggle drugs sewn inside her abdomen. The bag leaks, flooding her system with a synthetic compound called CPH4. Instead of killing her, the drug unlocks her brain's potential, increasing her capacity from 10% toward 100. This premise is scientifically illiterate. Humans use virtually all of their brain, just not all regions simultaneously. Neurons that went unused would atrophy. Brain scans show activity throughout the entire organ during normal function. The 10% myth has been debunked for decades, but Besson builds his entire film on it anyway. As Lucy's brain capacity increases, she gains telekinetic powers, can manipulate matter and energy, reads minds, and eventually transcends physical form entirely. Morgan Freeman plays Professor Norman, a neuroscientist who conveniently lectures about theoretical brain capacity just as Lucy begins evolving. He exists solely to explain what's happening to the audience through academic conferences that have nothing to do with the plot. The action sequences show Lucy effortlessly defeating gangsters and police through supernatural abilities that make her essentially invincible, removing any tension from the film. In the climax, Lucy's brain reaches 100% capacity while connected to a supercomputer. She transforms into a black liquid that spreads throughout the room, travels backward through time to meet the first human Lucy from millions of years ago, then disappears entirely, leaving behind only a USB drive containing all human knowledge. She literally becomes a flash drive. The film ends with Freeman's character receiving a text message from Lucy saying, "I am everywhere," suggesting she's become an omnipresent consciousness permeating the universe. Besson intended Lucy as a meditation on human potential and evolution, but basing it on a thoroughly debunked myth makes the entire exercise feel like expensive pseudoscience. Johansson delivers a cold, detached performance as Lucy loses her humanity, which works emotionally but can't overcome the fundamentally stupid premise. The film earned over $463 million worldwide, proving audiences don't care about scientific accuracy if the spectacle is entertaining enough, but Lucy remains one of the dumbest allegedly smart science fiction films ever made. Chappie, Neil Blomkamp's 2015 film about a robot gaining consciousness through exposure to Die Antwoord. In near-future Johannesburg, the police force uses robots called scouts to fight crime. Dion, an engineer played by Dev Patel, secretly develops true artificial intelligence and installs it in a damaged scout unit before he can properly teach the AI. Gangsters kidnap both Dion and the robot, planning to use it for crimes. The gangsters are played by Ninja and Yolandi Visser from South African rap group Die Antwoord, essentially playing themselves. They name the robot Chappie and raise it like a child, teaching it to steal cars, commit robbery, and throw gang signs. Hugh Jackman plays Vincent Moore, a rival engineer whose massive combat robot called the Moose keeps getting rejected in favor of Dion's scouts. Vincent is jealous of Dion's success and wants to sabotage the scout program by destroying Chappie. His character has no depth beyond petty professional rivalry and religious fanaticism. Sigourney Weaver appears briefly as the CEO of the weapons company, completely wasted in a nothing role. The film can't decide what it wants to be. Sometimes it's a meditation on consciousness and what makes something alive. Sometimes it's a gangster film about criminals teaching a robot to be hard. Sometimes it's an action movie about police robots fighting each other. Blomkamp worked with Die Antwoord for years, developing the project, and their involvement dominates the film in ways that alienate viewers unfamiliar with their music and aesthetic. Yolandi treats Chappie like a son, while Ninja trains him to be a thug, and the tonal whiplash between maternal care and criminal activity never resolves into coherent characterization. The climax involves Chappie transferring Dion's consciousness into a robot body to save him from death, then doing the same for Yolandi, suggesting consciousness is just software that can be copied and moved between hardware. The film raises profound questions about identity and mortality, but answers them with simplistic technology that makes death meaningless. Chappie earned only around $102 million worldwide, against a $49 million budget, becoming Blomkamp's second consecutive critical and commercial disappointment after the breakout success of District 9. His career went from District 9's Oscar-nominated brilliance to increasingly muddled films that wasted interesting premises on poor execution and baffling creative choices. If this was interesting to you, consider subscribing so you catch every new video. Thanks for watching.